Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about novels for students, how to cite it in your works cited. There are really two different ways or two different parts of novels for students that you have to cite. One are these first several pages. This is just an example from Pride and Prejudice. So these first several pages go over biography and plot summary and themes and characters and all of that. But then when you get pretty far into the chapter, you'll see these criticism articles, and you can see this title right here and then a new author's name. Every time you see a new author's name, this is a new source. So novels for students is an anthology, and what that means is it's just a collection of multiple works by different authors with distinct chapters or sections. So each chapter of novels for students is about a different novel. There's also poetry for students and drama for students and Shakespeare for students and short stories for students, and they're all set up the same way. So first things first, let's talk about how to cite this first section, this section that covers the overview of the book, the characters, the title, the themes, the historical references. So what we have in Novels for Students is a book that doesn't list an author, but it lists an editor, and it's also an anthology. So as our guide, we're going to use these instructions for how to cite it. This is how to cite an anthology, and I'll show you how to make this, how to cite an anthology with just an editor listed. So you can see the first thing we need is the author, and we don't have that. What we have is a book that lists an editor. So we're going to start by listing that on our works cited. So the editor of this book is Diane Telgen. So I'm going to go over to our works cited. Sorry about that. Her last name is Telgen, so alphabetically she needs to go right here. And she is an editor, not an author. So to indicate that, we need to just type editor and then period. Okay? So the next thing we need is the title and subtitle of the selection, and that means the chapter title. So in this book, the chapter title is the title of the book, in this case, Pride and Prejudice. So it's a chapter title, so we're going to put it in quotation marks, even though it is also a book title. Then we need the title and subtitle of the anthology. So our title is Novels for Students. And that needs to be italicized since it's a book title. What's not listed here and what's important is the volume number. Novels for Students has multiple volumes, so we need to include that. Oh, and also we need a comma here. So we'll do comma volume 1 because that's our volume number, and then a comma. The next thing we need is the editors of the anthology. We've already listed that, so we're going to skip over that. The publisher. So the publisher can be found usually at the bottom of the title page. Here we have Gale. Going across. And then the next thing we'll need is the date of publication, and you can see in the example over here, that's just the year. So on your copy of Novels for Students, that may be written somewhere like on the cover, on the title page, but in the actual book, it's on the copyright page, so we see it's 1997. And then the page numbers of the section. So these are our chapter page numbers. So the first page of the chapter is 282. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on our PP 282 through, let's go to the last page of this section. So we see we have a new author here. So this section ends here. This is page 297. So you can mimic that in your own citation. So every citation should end with a period. So you can model your citation of your novels for students after this. Next, let's practice citing just an article in Novels for Students. So let's just pick this article by Diana Francis. So we're going to still be using this as a guide. Author of the selection is again Diana Francis. just double checking, Diana Francis. So I'm going to scroll up and put it in alphabetical order, period. The next thing we need is the title and subtitle of the selection. So that's the chapter title. In Novels for Students, if there's a chapter title for these little articles, they put it at the end. And here you can see the source information doesn't list a title. Now for some of the other sources, it may list a title. So let's scroll to the end here. And yeah, see this second article lists a title. If you have a title, you need to use it. If you don't have a title, I think the best thing to do is just call this, what does it say over here? Essay for Novels for Students. So we're just going to call it that. And we're going to italicize Novels for Students. We're going to put a period behind it. Okay. Next is the title and subtitle of the anthology. So again, and now we're going to use a comma. And then the editors. So we're going to list it a little differently. We're not going to do the last name, comma, editor. We only do the last name first if it comes at the beginning of the citation. So here we're going to do edited by, and remember our editor's name was Diane Telgen. See, we found it right there. Comma. And we're just following the punctuation from this example. Then we need our publisher, which was Gale, and our year, which was 97. We can remember that from when we cited the whole thing down here. We can actually, if we want to, Command C and then Command V here. But we can't take the page numbers. We have to change those because they're not accurate for this section. So for this section, the Diana Francis section, I'm scrolling back to it. I went too far. It starts on page 297 and it ends, we didn't pass it, here it is. It ends on page 299. And that's it. So you can use this video to model as you cite your own sources. So for each extra article in Novels for Students, you'll need to make a separate citation so it counts as a separate source. Remember, don't just use Novels for Students as your only citation or your only secondary source. You want to get a good variety, but you can certainly use more than one portion of Novels for Students. Okay?